Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to episode 231 of the 3 Point Podcast. We are presented to you by Memorial Healthcare, home of the popular walk-in sports injury clinic, now open every Monday through October 17th at the beautiful new Now Community Wellness Center. We're also partnered with Skymint Cannabis, Michigan's leader in the industry, many locations throughout the state of Michigan. Don't forget to stop into the Corona store, use the coupon code 3.20. That's 20% off all Skymint products only. We also want to thank our local sponsors. They include AZEE Printing Solutions. Man, they printed up some great gear for us. Also, as I mentioned, Capital Sports, Fieldhouse, and Hit and Pitch Owosso, Pro Real Estate and Auction, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, Success Group Mortgage and Servicing, and the Wash of Owosso. Well, we're going to be talking with Sam Ali, host of Friday night's highlight show For the Win on Fox 66 and NBC 25. But that's going to be coming up in just a bit. First, we're going to get caught up on whatever the heck we've been doing. What have you guys been up to?
I just want to say real quick before we jump into that, I know we've talked about it before. You saying that, his highlight show on Fox 66 and NBC 25, that just takes me back to Friday nights when I was in high school, because that's all you would do. You'd click around. You'd hop over to ABC 12, see if your highlights made it. You'd hop over to Fox 66. I don't know. It's just, it's a different world now because everything's on Twitter. Everyone's got their, their highlights on Huddle or, whatever. Back when I played, it was you hopped on the local stations and you hope you made the Argus Press.
I will say there's Fox 17 in Grand Rapids. Fox 66 has a great ring to it. I'll be the first to say that. As you guys know, this is the first weekend in high school football. I wish that was the majority of my catch up. I wish it was me talking about, the kickoff classic we had at Wayne State and how great of an event that was and how excited I am for high school football to be back and just football in general this weekend. But it's not. So as you guys know, Ted, you're the first one to crap on me for this. I already know my mom is probably listening to this, probably shaking her head before I even get into it. But so as you know, I'm not the best driver.
Oh boy,
not again.
Normally I would not even tell this story because I know that's the stupid saying out there. That's like the stereotypes that I'm just this horrible driver. But I got to tell you guys this story. And when I say that this is verbatim exactly what happened, I am not lying to you. Okay. Friday night, Wayne State Kickoff Classic, driving back to Corona. I got a wedding in Owosso this weekend. Driving back, I did dance a lot at the wedding, by the way. Driving back, I think I finally figured out what weddings are all about. So I'm driving back, just literally nobody on the highway. It's like midnight. I set my cruise control to 80 miles an hour, which let me just be the first. What do you guys like? Let's say, there's nobody on the highway. It's midnight. You're just sitting in the fast lane. Is that a reasonable speed?
Yeah.
If it's 75. Okay. Yep.
That's what I thought. Okay, so I'm sitting in 80, literally not really thinking twice about it. There's a state trooper in the middle lane. I'm like slowly catching up to this guy. I'm really not thinking twice about it. Whatever. It's just literally just me and him on the highway. Slowly creeping up to him. Okay, now we're side by side. We are literally matching speed for, I swear to you, about 1 minute. We're sitting there and it's just awkward. I'm sitting there driving right next to this guy, 80 miles an hour, both going 80. So I can tell he has a speed set at 80. We're driving right next to each other, 80 miles an hour. After literally a minute,
He's testing you. He's testing you. He wants to see if you're going to go faster.
This is just stupid. Why? What am I even doing? So I literally increase it to 81 miles an hour. Literally 81 miles an hour. I kid you not. I slowly pass him. Second I pass him, he flips on his lights and pulls me over. So I pull over. It was one of those things. I was going back and forth in my head, as I was about to do it. Should I just slam on the brakes and just let him go, and then just stay a car length behind him? This is just dumb. I guess probably looking back, probably the easier solution. But again, it's he's going 80. He's going over the speed limit. I'm going the same exact speed he's going. 1 mile an hour. You're basically can't even tell the difference. 81, 80. This is semantics. Is he really going to pull me over for going 1 mile over what I was going a second ago? Well, sure enough, sure as shit, pulls me over. Park on the side of the road. He walks up, literally I couldn't even get my license out of my wallet by the time he's tapping on my window. Oh, what the hell do you think you're doing? You really think it's smart to pass a state trooper? I know you saw that I was a state trooper. I'm literally just kind of taken aback. Like, it's like, yes, sir. Like, I don't ever, what's the point of me going back and forth with this guy? Whatever.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. No, sir. No, yeah, I was dumb. I don't really know what I was thinking. So he goes back to write me a ticket. He says, "Oh, so you know why you're getting a ticket, right?" I was, "Yeah, I know I'm getting a ticket." Goes back, comes back a second later. How fast do you think you were going? Like, this is like, I don't know why he went back to his car, then came back, goes back. How fast do you think you're going? I was like, 80 miles an hour. And then I was like, yeah, literally right around that turn, I sped up to 81 miles an hour because we were just like right next to each other. So, oh, really? He's like, I was like, yeah, I was going 81 miles an hour. Literally, like, it was like, this guy, I cannot overstress this enough. We were sitting there going the same speed for 1 full minute, to the point where I was like, this is just weird. I'm just going to go a mile an hour faster and go in front of this guy. So he goes, oh, all right. You think it's just okay to pass a trooper? Yeah, no, I don't know why I did it. It's stupid. Goes back, comes back with my ticket. It says 87 miles an hour on it. Dude, what? So this is that. What does that tell me? I wasn't even really that mad. Like, I was kind of more just like, this is so dumb. I guess I probably should have just let him like be in front of me or whatever. But it just irritated the hell out of me. Because one, he comes back and this is the first thing he says. Thanks for your honesty. Thanks for your honesty. And then he hands me the ticket. So, yeah, no problem. Check it. It says he wrote down 87 miles an hour. And when I say, I seriously cannot stress this enough, I was going 80 miles an hour up until the 2 seconds before he pulled me over, where I sped up a millimeter just so we weren't sitting there staring at each other in the driver's seats. So this guy, what this tells me is, one, would he have looked like an idiot writing me a ticket for what I was really going, which was 81 miles an hour? And my question then to you guys is, what's the difference? What's the proper speed limit? It doesn't seem right that he can pull me over going 81 miles an hour, but he's perfectly fine going 80, or I'm perfectly fine going 80. He never really explained that to me. And I think that's just really the most irritating part of all this.
Yeah, I think some cops are just out to get people, and you rubbed them the wrong way. I would definitely go to court over that and, explain the situation. I don't know how he wrote you up for 87 if you set your cruise at 81.
No, like, and Matt, I swear to God, like, that's why he said, thanks for your honesty, because the way I explained the exact story is exactly how I explained it to him, is how I explained it to him.
Yeah.
But just the fact that he did that, and then basically by the time I could even come to, he's already pulled out and back on the highway, 87 miles an hour. What the hell?
I don't get how some cops, real quick, Ted, I know you're going to jump in and lecture.
No, go ahead. I'm just
your nephew.
chomping at the bit.
I think some cops get off on giving speeding tickets. It really irritates me sometimes. Like, that would have been a very simple one. It's late. He probably asked you, where you going? I'm driving back to Corona. Like, you were honest. He admitted that. Just tell you to slow down. Like, when he starts asking you the questions of, like, do you think it's smart to pass the state trooper? What does he expect you to say? Like, what kind of question is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're going slow, I'm going to pass you. Like, what do you want me to say to that question? I say that because I have a court date coming up in 2 weeks for a speeding ticket when we were driving back from Michigan.
Oh, yeah. They'll get you in Michigan, man.
Yeah, we were in, we had just got into North Carolina, and we'd been on the road all day. I mean,
you're whipped
13 hours or whatever. I get pulled over. I'm following. I'm going to make this really short, this story. I'm following, it's one of those situations. I'm following 3 cars. 4 of us are just doing, same speed. We're just following each other on the highway. I got pulled over. I was the one in the back. Somehow I'm the one that got pulled over. He told me I was going 5 miles an hour faster than the rest of ththose cars I was following. When he came up,
say that, man.
When he came up, Wesley was crying because he was hungry, ready to get out. He could see where we got our cars just packed. He asked, where are you coming from? I was like, we've been on the road all day from Michigan. We're going to Charlotte. We're almost home. This would have been the perfect situation for a cop to go back and check my record. I have a clean driving record, and say, hey, man, you've been on the road for 13 hours. I hear your baby crying. I see that you're traveling. Slow down a little bit, get home safely. Instead, writes me the ticket, and I've got to drive an hour and a half or whatever for the court. And it's like, yeah, it irritates me sometimes. It's one thing if you were being dangerous, like, say, Jared, you were swerving all over the place, and say you were like tailgating him right up on his ass,
right.
Like stuff like that. That's different. But I don't get it. Some cops, I just don't understand.
And Ted, I know you said chopping out the bit. Let me just clarify my perspective on this. I didn't blame him for giving me a ticket. Right? Probably not smart. It's like I should have just, I don't know. The patience should have prevailed. I should have just hit the gas, hit the brake, and just let him stay in front of me, going 80 on the dot. But it's just what bothered me is that he blatantly wrote the wrong speed on that ticket. And I wasn't upset until, like I said, until driving down the road, flipped on the light for a second, took a look at it, 87 miles an hour, top right corner. Because it's just like we literally had a conversation over this. It wasn't like he had a guesstimate or, usually they ask you how fast you're going. You have no idea. No, I knew it because it was such a weird interaction with me and this cop car that I knew exactly how fast I was going from start until finish. And I think that's what bothered me. It wasn't anything else. I was happily taking the ticket, but just the blatant lie on the ticket is what's irritating.
Good night, everybody. We've run out of time. No, here's my no. It's all right. Those are two good stories, actually. Now, Matt, I have a question for you before I jump into Jared. You got to go somewhere to pay this ticket, or are you fighting it? You can't mail in your fine.
I'm mostly hoping that he doesn't show up, and they just reduce it to a fine.
Yeah.
Because I've actually had that happen a couple times. I've gotten a few speeding tickets.
Okay.
So that's really my hope. He doesn't show up, and they reduce it to like improper equipment, $200 fine, no points on the license. That's what I'm hoping for.
I am amazed, though, that the whole situation you laid out with the crying baby in the car and all that, and you're the fourth in line. I mean that's a bad one. That's bad luck. Yeah. Jared, on the other hand, asked for his. You don't pass a state cop. He was a dick for bringing it up like that. But my God, when I'm coming up on a state cop, I'm not zipping by him, even if it's 1 mile an hour. I'll just back it off, wait till he gets off the next exit or whatever. And I mean, I'm not saying you should have got a ticket for 87 if you didn't go 87.
Like I said, it was just the principle of it that we had this conversation, came back. He totally changed his tune from the time he walked from the car till the time he came back. But it just was like a classic, like twist of the knife that he just wrote the wrong speed. And
that blows me away because usually if you're nice to them, they usually will say, okay, you were going 85, but I'm going to write it for 75. They usually cut you a break, what my experience has been, but not young Jared.
Like I said, I wasn't even going to bring it up on the pod because I'm like really not that mad about it because like I said, I agree. Like it really, I don't know what I was thinking. It just seemed idiotic that he was going to draw the line from 1 mile per hour. Right. So I was just whatever. I'm just going to speed up one. Like, believe me, I had the dialogue in my head for 30 seconds before I did it, whether or not I should or shouldn't. And it clearly was just the wrong choice, which I usually tend to do, I guess, when I'm driving. So, but Ted, I will say before you make too many comments, man, remember the one pod, like a year ago, it was like your whole world had ended because you got a speeding ticket that you deserved. So don't forget that.
Oh, I have forgot. I don't even know what you're talking about. What refresh my memory.
This was a couple years ago back when we were in the studio. I remember you came in, you had I had a horrible day today.
I didn't get it. I didn't get a ticket. I got pulled over, but the guy didn't give me a ticket. I think if that's the story. I haven't got a ticket in a long time.
All right. Yeah, you're probably, I misremembered, but how was your weekend, man? You actually had a good one compared to us.
Ted got to see the new Nick up close and personal.
I did. Yes. It was pretty cool, guys. I mean, I think you both probably saw the video I did with Jared's dad, John, the superintendent of schools there at Corona. We just did a quick little 2-minute video, panning around the field, getting some of the thoughts. It's gorgeous. Like, we'll talk to Sam Ali a little later on. He talks about it a little bit, but it's a gorgeous setup. The main thing I was really looking forward to is how good Corona is. And they opened up, they played very sharp. They're still a relatively young team, but they look good. And, Fowlerville's given them problems in the past, and Corona won it fairly easily, 36-13. The Bauer boys, again, great games. Tarek had 3 touchdowns, couple of interceptions. And the setting there is really nice. I've only got one complaint. I know I've already mentioned it to John. I think he's heard it from more than one source. There's not an aisleway to get up into the press box. If you're down on the field and need to get to the press box by the time the fans are in the stands, you got to climb over fans to get into the press box. Really? So I anticipate in the next year they'll do some modifications somehow to make it a little bit more accessible. But that's the only complaint I would have.
They just put in brand new bleachers. I'm surprised that wouldn't have been part of the
It got
Restructure.
overlooked.
Classic oversight. I mean, Ted, you went and checked the tour. You checked the field out. How many times before it was actually finished? You never noticed it until.
You're right. You're right about
it
that.
is one of those things, man. With the whirlwind that was the field, you think about like something like that. When the bleachers are totally empty, you don't quite realize that there's not really going to be a walkway to it. But
Right.
Whatever. At the end of the day, you got to walk through the crowd a little bit.
Minor.
Yeah. But no, like I said, it sounds like Corona looked good. Sounds like the Bauer twins are really the biggest takeaway. I know Coach Tony Anise was in attendance to watch them play. And from what I hear, man, they are the real deal. I mean, you actually mentioned to me off the record that you're pretty sure your records could be shattered either this year or next year. Your season interceptions.
One of the two or both of them. Yeah, very possible in the next couple of years. They're I'll tell you what, if I was an opposing quarterback, I wouldn't throw it anywhere near either one of them. Wyatt comes in there in primarily passing situations because he's the quarterback, but Tarek's out there all the time. And, we knew coming in the Bauer boys were going to be good. But the other thing that was really impressive to me was the whole rest of the team. I mean, the line, the offensive line, defensive line played good. The linebackers. I mean, this seems like a really good team for head coach Steve Herrick. And, and like I said, they're still relatively young. So,
and their best running back right now is hurt, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Jaden Eddington, he's got the biggest legs I think I've ever seen for a running back in high school, man. He's got stout tree trunks.
Bigger than who's the guy that used to have like 42 carries in like one game? Who am I thinking of?
Jeff Golembitsky?
Yeah, Golembitsky.
They're similar. You never wanted to tackle him in the thighs.
The dentist, yep.
You mentioned the turf and the guys looking faster, on the turf. There's something to it. I mean, I never played on it back when I was actually playing high school football, but I've played some flag football on turf fields. There's something about it. You are faster on field turf. I don't know what it is. You're not maybe slipping a little bit in mud or, the dirt, but you're definitely faster on that field turf. So that's only going to help out Corona, especially with the athletes they have.
Here's what's hilarious about it is, like, I remember back my senior year, 5 years ago's time. Like when we made it to the second round of playoffs, we had that home game. If I was an opposing player or an opposing team, I would have like boycotted that game. That field was so bad. You could not keep your grip. It was like watching, like some of our Corona players were kind of used to it. So we had a little bit less issues, but if you go back and watch that film, it's like Flint Powers is slipping left and right. Because that field was so bad, and it'll just be cool. Hopefully this team gets to experience that a deep playoff game where usually a lot of grass fields kind of turn to crap here in Michigan, where they're going to be able to still be playing just like it was on Thursday night.
Well, if they keep it rolling, maybe they'll host our first round or second round game at Corona, and they end up the season over at Owosso, which also has a turf field. So that's kind of cool. Before we move away from this segment, fellas, I do want to throw a mention out there for Owosso. They opened up the season with a brand new head coach, Ron Tyner, and they pounded Wyoming Kelloggsville 42-18. 2 kickoff returns in that game for the Owosso Trojans. And I read the preview in the Argus Press from Coach Tyner. I liked what I heard on a couple different fronts. They're going to a more pro set offense instead of that just packed in double tight end T formation that Devin Pringle run. Nothing against him, but that's ancient, man. I mean, there's still teams that can run it and be successful, but you got to get with the times and you got to spread the field out and use what you got. I like that. And the comment that I liked that you'll think it's funny coming from me, Trojans in the last few years, Pringle switched over to the Michigan Wolverine style winged helmet. And Tyner said, we're getting those out of here. We got to wear them this year, but next year we're going back to the traditional, gold helmets with the Trojan sticker on the side. I mean, those winged helmets made no sense. There were 2 different colors on the stripes. I mean, I think it was white on the front and gold stripes. Just that was a good move. And right there, he got my respect. Right out of the gate.
No, I always thought, first of all, I didn't like Owosso wearing Michigan's helmets. I didn't like that. But no, I always thought that the classic Owosso helmets were cool.
Yeah.
They're kind of like some of the Michigan State helmets. The yellow or gold with that Owosso Trojan right on the side. I always thought that was a cool helmet.
Yeah, it is. It's a classic helmet. It reminds you of the Harbaugh era. I mean, I feel like a little bit of a hypocrite because I don't like Corona's current helmets. So I almost feel like Corona should be just like Notre Dame, all gold domes. Just like how I think really the only team in Michigan that I'm okay with wearing the the University of Michigan helmets is Clarkson. They've always had them as
Yeah.
long as I can remember. So I'm okay with them keeping it. But a classic helmet like that, it's just leave it to Michigan. And nobody else is going to be able to pull it off right.
Yeah.
Unless you're like a D8 school like the UP. There's also something kind of funny about a team like that having those type of helmets, like if they're orange and black or something. But yeah, leave it to the pros.
All right. Well, the field was great. Had a good time there. Had a couple margaritas on the pontoon with some people over on Saturday night. So life's going pretty good right now, fellas.
Nice. Football season.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen. All right. Well, we're going to talk a little more football, a little more high school football with Sam Ali coming up right after this.
All right, let's get the inaugural 3-point prep report brought to you by Hit and Pitch and Capital Sports Fieldhouse. We're going to bring on, he was new to the Prep Pigskin preview. If you listen to that, you heard his preview of kind of the mid-Michigan area. His name is Sam Ali. You can follow him on Twitter at Sam Ali Sports. He's the sports director at Mid-Michigan Now. So definitely check out everything he has going on there. A lot of really cool stuff that he's involved in. But we brought him on to talk about week 1 is in the books for high school football in Michigan. And there was a ton of upsets, a lot of great games. And we just want to kind of get your breakdown of what you saw in the first week of football. So Sam, first of all, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, guys. My pleasure.
And I know you mentioned you're fairly new to the area. What's been kind of your first impression of high school football in mid-Michigan? We all grew up at Corona, so we kind of know the area pretty well. How some of the traditional schools, some of the schools that are, I guess, powerhouses, type of thing, big programs. What's kind of been your first impression of the area?
Honestly, the first impression is just a lot. It's a deep area, a lot of really, really talented teams. You take the teams from northern Michigan and then down in the Detroit metro area, and even some in the Grand Rapids area. When it comes to this area, there are teams that compete. It might not have been last year where anybody going deep or winning any state titles, but there's just a lot of competition and a lot of really good teams. And week 1 kind of gave us a preview. Some teams were playing non-conference games, but once they start playing each other, it's going to be some really, really good football on Friday nights.
Is there a certain team or a certain matchup that you saw week 1 that really stood out to you, or even a player? One of those 3 things, what really stuck out to you?
The big thing that stuck out to me was Davison. Just a huge upset at the big house. All the elements, just everything, and from what I saw, a lot of people turned out. And one of the players, they were always talking about you have to adjust to how, and this is going to be funny, how quiet it's going to be because it's not,
Right.
There's not 110,000 people who are going to be there to watch a high school football game, but they really jam-packed that place, and Davison just played so well and squeaked out a win. And it really, I know there's no such thing as a must win in week 1, but man, getting a win like that is going to do wonders for them moving on.
Yeah, I thought we might see the former Davison quarterback, Brendan Sullivan, in Ireland, but I did see him on the sideline wearing that number 10. But, Sam, here in our area, we're a little bit more of the smaller schools focused, and then when you look at our area specifically, teams like New Lothrop, who pulled a little bit of a miniature upset over Jackson Lumen Christie, and then you talked about it on our preview show, the Corona Cavaliers. They looked impressive. I had a chance to see them up close and personal, and they look like they're going to be pretty tough being a young team.
And I do want to start off that field. Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. That's how you break in a field like that. But it's just everything kind of made sense. And I know I said this on the preseason podcast, but you just bring back all that experience and guys who have already seen the success and see what it takes. The culture is there. The winning culture is already there. And Steve's doing a fantastic job. There's no reason not to think that this team could make a deep run. And again, I'm not saying they'll win a state title, but this is a team that's going to be in contention all season and into the playoffs.
Yeah. I saw one, Mick McCabe. I know he's been covering high school football forever in Michigan. He's got Corona number 7 in his D5 poll. So take that for what it's worth. Nothing
He
official.
knows what he's
It's just,
talking about.
yeah, just his poll, but it's impressive. I was going to ask you kind of, again, it's only been 1 week, but like you said, it's not necessarily must wins. But when you're only playing 9 games, it is very important for, in the regular season. Jared kind of said it, who's been impressive or who impressed you that week 1? Was there any team that just like, wow, this team's making a run to Ford Field? Like a team that you saw, whether you saw it in person or you saw highlights of, or you heard, someone told you, a team that you're just like, this team's making a run to Ford Field. I know it.
I think it really is just so tough to tell, especially with these week 1 games. I don't know about you guys, but it seemed like there were a lot of blowouts, and it's to be expected. And there were a couple of really close games. I think it would probably be best if we just waited until conference play and we see that, because everyone did what they were supposed to do. That's what I'll say.
Was it a little bit disappointing to see? I mean, I feel like a lot of people, at least here in, the Corona area with our football, they were always circling, it's kind of became a little bit of a rivalry in our town, the Corona versus Lake Fenton game. Like Fenton kind of dropped a tough one to Gaylord in week 1. Did that change your opinion on that team? And did that maybe make you think that maybe Corona is the team to beat in their conference?
I think it just makes the conference even more up for grabs. Even though it was a non-conference game, it was really, I mean, maybe it was just a bad call or just bad luck. I know the game-winning touchdown was on like a slant coming into the middle, no one there to contain him on the outside. And then what is the 2-point conversion percentage of all teams in high school football? It was a great play, not taking anything away from Gaylord, but my money is always on the team stopping that other team on 2-point conversions. So I think Lake Fenton's in a good spot, and they are going to be not in a good mood. I was watching my language. Not in a good mood next week.
So give us a little walkthrough on how you put together what games you cover on Friday nights, sending the crews out there with a camera, or is it just yourself hitting all these spots? Give our listeners a little feel for how you put the show together for the win.
It starts off on Monday, just looking at the schedules. It really comes down to, and I want everyone to hear this, it really comes down to the proximity and how close games are and how close games are to each other. If I feel like we can grab a cluster of games around a specific area where we can be like, okay, we'll go here and then we'll go here. That's the best way to do it. Some people are just like, oh, they only cover, Flint metro area, and that's it. We try to get up as far north as we can and get down, to the southern part of our viewing area where Fenton, Lake Fenton, Holly. We try to do as best as we can, but it's a little tough given, the staffing shortages and all that good stuff. But we really, really tried to kind of keep a running list of, hey, we already covered this team, but we weren't able to get to Freeland. So we'll send the person that we had covering Clio up to Freeland, and we kind of spread it out so that we give everybody coverage throughout an entire season.
Me and Matt both worked in the same sort of highlight show, both of us out at Fox 17 in Grand Rapids. So I know the business at least somewhat well. I'm just curious. I love to ask this question, to all of our sports anchors that we have on, or anybody that's involved in a highlight show on a Friday night. What's one thing you wish listeners or watchers rather wish that they knew about your broadcast outside of what you already stated, which is that a lot of what you decide is based on proximity? I
wish they knew that we don't hate any teams. We don't. Some people, you only talk about this team, or you didn't show this play and then this play. And another thing that I thought was just common sense is that they're called highlights, but as you guys know, I'm going to be honest, it's the plays that we were there for.
Yep.
That's the honest truth. It's like, they only show stuff from the first quarter. Like, that's the only time we can get there. Yeah. That's the best way to do it. So it's really not here are the full highlights. It's like, no, these are the best plays when I was there. Right. And these are what we're gonna show. And as you guys know, we're not going to show, a 2-minute highlight of a game, no matter how good that game was. It's, usually 3 or 4 plays, maybe a little bit more for our game of the week. But other than that, we got to just snap through and get through as many games as we can.
It's funny you say that. And yeah, Jared mentioned it. It's been a little while, but that's how I broke into the business, doing sports photog and a bunch of other stuff. But it is funny when you had that like three games that you had to get to. That first game in the first quarter, if you got like bang, 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 3 touchdowns, you were like, I'm out. And then like it's funny when you would go back later and the score was like completely different. Storyline is completely different, but you're like, these are the 3 touchdowns I got. Sorry.
You get there and you'll get like 21-7 after the first quarter, and you're like, oh, perfect. Got myself a good highlight. You're writing it in your head and everything is good. You get back and that team rattled off something that's 35-21. And it's the complete opposite of what you thought. Another thing is when people see like you get to a game and let's say you're like really tight on time and like you're getting 3 games, they're all at 7 o'clock and you need to be out of there quick. And a team scores, like, for example, the Swartz Creek game against Flint, when they scored like 5 touchdowns in their first 6 plays. Once we get a feel of a game and we see that this game is going to get out of control real quick, we might be at that game for 2 drives, 2 touchdowns, out of there. Yeah. It's not, no offense to the other team and everything, but sometimes we got to get out of there quick. And once we see what we need, we're out to our next game.
Yeah, that is funny. You mentioned game of the week. So looking ahead, week 2, what's your game of the week? What are a couple matchups you're looking forward to week 2?
I got to reveal this now.
If you're not supposed to, don't. But maybe
you know what?
Not the game of the week. What are some other ones you're looking? For?
What? No, just for you guys. Just for you.
Oh yeah.
Our game of the week, and I'm pretty sure it's not going to be any different anywhere else, will be the Carmen Ainsworth against Grand Blanc.
Oh yeah.
I know a lot of people. I feel like you and I feel like a few other people were mentioning Grand Blanc in our prep pigskin preview. Are they looking like the real deal?
They are. They've got some weapons. They ran into a buzzsaw with Granville, so let's not overreact. But the weapons that they got offensively and just some really, really, really good plays. Tay Boyd, I think it was, who's just a monster. I know Ryan Slocum mentioned him, and that dude is just, give him the ball, let him take care of the rest. They're in a good spot. Like I said, once you got that winning culture and those high expectations, everything else will take care of itself. They're definitely a team that's going to be a team that's going to make a deep run, and we'll see how the rest of it plays out.
For our listeners, Sam, just a quick synopsis of your background, getting to where you're at now and what got you there.
Originally from, I was born in Detroit, but grew up in Dearborn, Michigan, and I went to college at Wayne State University, the Wayne State University in downtown Detroit. And I got my start actually in radio news up in Houghton, Michigan, up in the UP.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's way up there.
I was far away from home. And I did that for about a year and a half. And then the TV station, the ABC affiliate in Marquette, Michigan, asked me to take over for sports, to be the sports director. I took that and was there for 4 years in Marquette. And then I just needed a change and found myself in Duluth, Minnesota.
Wow.
It was like I gave up
weather.
I gave up 300 inches of snow for like minus 40 wind chill.
Yeah.
So it was ridiculous. But Duluth, you want to talk about hockey, guys? Hockey is a religion up there. It is absolutely amazing.
I got one more question for me, and it's in regards to your UP background. What's football like up there? I just honestly, you could answer this any way you want because I really don't know what to expect. Is there a lot of people in the stands on Friday nights? Do they not care? Is there snow on the ground by mid-October? Like, what's it like?
A ton of people in the stands. They absolutely love their football. Even some of the teams that are not, really well, they pack the stands. One thing that is like something that needs to be mentioned is that if someone throws a pass, it's a big deal. It's a huge big deal. So
That's like back in
yeah,
Ted's era.
Yeah.
it's so wild. And I mentioned I was there when Ishpeming won Division 7, the Division 7 championship. I believe it was against Owosso, Westphalia. And they had their run. Powers North Central. They had their run where they didn't lose a game for like 3 years or something. But
Whitens.
some Whitens.
Yes.
Don't
Love
ask me
that
why I
guy.
know that. I shouldn't know that, but I do.
No, love that guy. But yeah, no, football is a big deal in the UP, and yeah, the snow is the snow, man. You just got to deal with it, smile, and embrace it.
Sam Ali from TV 66, Fox 66, and NBC 25 for the win every Friday night. Give some details on that and the best way to follow you on the social.
At Sam Ali Sports on Twitter, and then you just search Sam Ali Sports on Facebook, and then midmichigannow.com. And then every Friday for the win, except for this week, we'll have it on Thursday and stuff. But for the win, every Friday, 10 o'clock on Fox 66, 11 o'clock on NBC 25.
All right. We appreciate the time,
Thank
man.
you.
And look forward to catching up with you down the road.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Great.
All right, guys. Great to hear from Sam. Looking forward to his stuff on Friday night. And this segment, again, brought to you by Capital Sports. Fieldhouse Hit and Pitch. Great spot in Owosso. 10,000-foot turf field, can be used for all kinds of different sports, football, baseball, softball. You go work out there. You can go grab a bite to eat, maybe a little refreshment. Just a great spot for all your athletic needs. Capital Sports, Fieldhouse, and Hit and Pitch in Owosso. We'll be right back, and we'll talk a little football, I think, right after this. All right, guys. I mean, there's a lot to get into in football. I mean, do we want to start in the Lions? Do you want to start in college? Where do we want to go?
Start with Michigan, man. And to be honest, I kind of want to hear you set the. Although it looks like you're like picking up garbage or something on the ground. I want to hear you lay this out. You rarely get the opportunity to give your opinion on something first. I'm very curious to hear how you take this whole Michigan quarterback situation.
Well, let's put it this way. I'm not as passionate as Matt has been. I've noticed quite a bit posting on the whole competition thing. You heard my opinion that I think Cade McNamara should be the quarterback just because he turned that Michigan program around last year, 12-2. We know all the stats. Is he more flashy? No, but that's my thought. Now, as far as the passion that I have, I could live with the fact if Harbaugh came out and said, McCarthy, you're the winner. You won it here in camp. But I don't really particularly like this. Cade gets the first game. McCarthy gets the second game. The starter will be announced for the third game. I don't like it. It's college football.
I'm sorry, it's idiotic. And Matt, I think maybe you will agree with Harbaugh here. Here's the thing, man. If it's never been done before, there's probably a reason for it. Just go with your guy. Now it's like, even like, what is there a world where these guys both play well against these lackluster teams in week 1 and week 2? Yes. So I feel like it's still just going to come down to a Jim Harbaugh gut decision either way. I just don't understand it. Yeah, it'll probably work out. We'll probably really never really know the difference of what could have been, but I just disagreed with it. And Ted, I'll be honest, man, I'll give you credit. You actually swayed me in our argument a couple of weeks ago where I agree with what you said. It's like, hey, just give McNamara the job. And until he loses it, just let him have the job. Michigan can afford a loss. And I don't see McNamara ever really losing us a game. So I just was okay with us rolling with him. If he really looks poor in a game, all right, let's just officially make the switch. Nobody asks twice about it. This whole plan just seems just a little bit too crazy, a little bit chaotic. I don't know if it's really going to work out the way Jim Harbaugh hopes.
See, I guess that's my thing. I think it's not chaotic. Some people have said like this leaves a lot to be questioned. I think it's pretty cut and dry. One guy gets game 1, one guy gets game 2. They'll decide. Yes, there's scenario where both guys absolutely kill it. And you're like, okay, what do we do now? Okay, that could happen. But it's also very possible that one guy, plays okay, throws a couple picks, and it's obvious that the other guy should get the job. I think if you don't do something like this, if you go into the season, everyone knows J.J. McCarthy, the talent he has, how he came in as a recruit, how, a lot of people think he's the quarterback of the future, I guess. if you don't do something like this, where you're going to be able to say it's Cade's job, it's JJ's job, every week you're going to have this question. You're going to be dealing with how many plays is JJ going to get? When is JJ McCarthy going to come in? If Cade throws an interception, is JJ going to come in there? Now you've got 2 games where you're telling both guys, prove it. Cade McNamara, I don't care about last year. If you want the job this year, go out week 1, win the game 63-0, throw 5 touchdowns, stretch the field, show us that you're not just a check down master, and use these receivers and win the game. Same with JJ McCarthy. If you want the job, if you're this prolific super recruit that's supposed to take over Michigan, go out there against Hawaii. Vanderbilt just put up like 60 points on Hawaii. Go out there and put up 80 points on Hawaii. Throw 5 touchdowns. Run the read option. Run for 80 yards. I think it's pretty cut and dry. It makes it so it's basically like a put up or shut up. And if JJ goes out there and throws a couple picks, fumbles a ball or 2, then that's going to make it be like, and say Cade plays a clean game. Well, there you go. There's your answer. And then, later in the year, say game 6, 7, 8, like say Cade wins the job and he starts to stumble, or, obviously if an injury happens, well, yeah, then, a change can be made. But right now, I just think there's no back and forth. You get game 1, you get game 2, game 3, we're making the decision. I like it.
Man,
and we all know Harbaugh's unconventional. He doesn't care if it's never been done before.
I will say I do hate it like when it's like, McNamara gets series number 1 and 2, then McCarthy gets series. Like, I guess I prefer it over that. But God, I just really wish one guy would have really pulled away, man, in this offseason.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like they did, which I guess which makes me think, like, let's just stick with the senior leader. If it's not a clear cut, McCarthy is just electrifying player who's really going to change our offense. If it's so like up in the air, just give it to McNamara and let him run with it. We know he's a good leader. We know he's trusted. We know he's been there before. McCarthy's still got a lot of playing time left in him. Let him develop another year. This just seems problematic. I hope you're right. I believe me, I'll be the first one cheering if this team marches on to the Rose Bowl, but I can't shake the feeling in my gut that I don't know what the backfiring will be, but I just imagine, like, if I'm in that locker room, if I'm McNamara, if I'm McCarthy, it just seems like it just doesn't seem like a fair way to do a quarterback battle.
I think it is fair though, because if McCarthy, either guy goes out there in their game and doesn't perform, they'll be able to know that. If McCarthy throws 2 picks and fumbles a couple balls, he'll be able to say, I didn't perform. I didn't win the job. But
like you said, I mean, we're expecting both these games to be blowouts. So I feel like we're still just going to be like semantics. Like, oh, this guy was 20 for 25 with 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. This guy was, had 250 pass yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. So I don't know. I hope one guy really separates themselves.
Right.
Yeah. I just don't see it.
That's the hope.
It just worries me that it's optics. I mean, the biggest problem I have is just, if they're that close, in training camp, and they're both going to get this game, and then the decision's going to be made. If they're that close, then you make the decision. You go with the guy that got you there last year, and you just roll with it until he falters, and then you bring the next guy in. That's the biggest problem I have, Matt. I see your idea. I see your thought process. It just doesn't sit well with me. I just don't like seeing a quarterback lose their job for no real particular reason other than you think the next guy's got more talent, can run the balls, more electrifying, when your other guy took you 12-2 and took you to the national championship series. I mean, to me, it stinks. To me, it seems like it's playing around with karma. And you guys know I've talked about it before. Karma is a big thing with me. It really is. And I just think this is going to be not a good situation karma-wise.
But we know what have you done for me lately? Who cares about last year? Who cares if Cade did that last year? We're talking about this season.
I don't think he took a step back. Do you?
Well, not necessarily. And in fact, Harbaugh said that he's playing the best football ever, but of Cade's career.
Right.
But if JJ is right there, I think in my opinion, I think you can see that the ceiling is higher against a team like Georgia, against a team like Ohio State, when it's not snowing and cold and freezing. You need a quarterback that's much more dynamic than Cade McNamara. And I think this is where you're telling Cade, prove it. Stop checking the ball down and stretch the field, throw the ball downfield if you want to be the guy.
If Magnum, like, I guess I think now that more and more I dig in and think about this, I think my real problem with it is we've had, all these guys' careers, all these, everything Cade McNamara has done last year, everything we've seen from JJ, the arm talent, everything, all of that is now being boiled down to one game versus Hawaii.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't know. And it's like, if it really is that close, I think it's just up to Jim Harbaugh, man. Make a choice and let's say, hey, okay, maybe JJ McCarthy isn't quite as good as Cade is right now, but we're gonna take our lumps and we're gonna take our chances, and we're just gonna roll with it. But this he just seems very wishy-washy, which it seems like it always kind of happens. He's the king of this, man. Alex Smith versus Colin Kaepernick. What did he do? We're going with Kaepernick. Well, it could be very similar to that situation. I hope he knows what he's doing, man. I put my trust in Jim a lot, but this is maybe one of the crazier ones that I feel like I have to trust him on.
The NFL has preseason, though. I mean, preseason games, you can get a gauge on who has a better understanding of the quarterback. I mean, look at the Lions and those fantastic backup quarterbacks that they have. Clearly, David Blau separated himself for the backup quarterback job. You don't have that in college football. I mean, they've just been practicing against each other. So maybe they're almost treating these two games like preseason. And imagine what if game one, Colorado State, Cade McNamara only wins 24-17. And then JJ goes out against Hawaii and wins 72-3 or something. There you go. There's your answer. I mean, these are both games are supposed to be blowouts. So go out there and prove it. It's kind of like the 49ers. The 49ers had Jimmy G. Jimmy G's basically been like 40-5 as a starter, 2 NFC championships, 1 Super Bowl. He's a backup now. They moved on to Trey Lance because they saw, okay, Jimmy G, you've been good. We've been here. If we want to get here, we're going to take our chance with Trey Lance because he might be the guy that gets us here.
But I guess but it's like they didn't give Jimmy Garoppolo a preseason game to, battle it out, or game number 1 and then switch it with Trey Lance game number 2. No, they just said, better for worse, we're just cutting ties with you. We are going with Trey Lance. Man. And I would have been fine if Jim Harbaugh, I would have felt maybe it was a little bit unfair for Cade McNamara, but it probably would have been better for the team, I think. But it's like I said, they'll probably win both these games by 50. And Jim Harbaugh will have to make a gut decision anyway. So I guess it's up to him, man. Maybe he has some deep Jim Harbaugh-esque reasoning for doing this. I hope he does, at least.
We can only hope so.
Yeah.
he said something earlier today. I saw it's a biblical decision, he said.
God's green earth, man.
Hey, speaking of college football, is there anything else we want to talk about in Michigan? Because I did want to briefly talk about week 0 and Northwestern and Nebraska. You guys want to get into that just a little bit?
I know you watched every second of that game, probably just loving the entire atmosphere of it.
Did. I just loved college football back. You kidding me? For sure.
Great first game to have. I would love it if the Big Ten made a decision like, hey, week 1 doesn't matter. We're going to play a Big Ten conference schedule. Week 1. It seems like we see that. What is it? Purdue versus Illinois this upcoming week, or something like another Big Ten game coming up on Thursday. I love it. I wish they did it more. It was a great game. I mean, offense was aplenty. Nebraska, I don't know what in God's green earth Scott Frost was thinking on the onside kick.
Unreal.
It's rare that me on my couch, just my thought, like, what in the hell did he do that for? I'm always for an onside kick, but by God, that made no sense the way he did that and why he did it, and the risk reward factor. If they would have recovered that, just kick the ball off, man. You're gonna win this game,
right? But
whatever. I guess that's why I'm on the couch. He's making millions.
Yeah. Well, maybe you should be running that team, because I don't know. Scott Frost, he seems to. There's all these records about his record versus some of Nebraska's previous coaches, and it's kind of like, why are they still holding on to this guy? But I mean, it was supposed to be the situation like Michigan, the prodigy comes back and coaches the team, and just hasn't worked out. They looked better, they looked pretty good, but then they had those Nebraska moments and they lost the game.
Good for Northwestern, man. How do you guys not love Pat Fitzgerald? I mean, what a cool game that really was, though. Too, I will say one funny thing that I thought that Ted tweeted was funny. Didn't see this tweet other than from you, so kudos to you on a positive tweet on my timeline.
Thank you.
What was it? Like, basically, if Scott Frost won 50 straight games, he still wouldn't have a better record than Bo Pelini had at Nebraska.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you had some funny, what would you say, like hashtag fun fact or something on it?
Something like that.
But yeah, I just thought that was an eye-opening statistic, man.
It's crazy.
Well, I don't know why he's gotten this super long leash. I guess it's because all these losses are single digits, but
Right.
man, it's depressing because I really was hoping that they were actually going to get something going in Nebraska. It'd be awesome for the Big Ten, but it just doesn't seem like this is the regime that's going to do it.
It's not going to happen. Frost, it's funny you brought that up about the tweet because Miggy Incognito tweeted me back, and he sent me what Frank Solich's record was when he was there, and that was equally as good as Pelini. So, they made some bad decisions there, and they're in one of those ruts like Michigan had with Rich Rodriguez in the following, So, yeah, it would be good to see Nebraska come back somewhat, but it's not going to happen with Frost. It doesn't look like. I wouldn't have been shocked if they had fired him right after that game when they got back into town. It was just a terrible loss, but good for Sullivan in the Wildcats.
Yep.
So we got this weekend 1, Colorado State at Michigan. Kate will get the start. Western Michigan Friday night. They take on Western Michigan, or MSU does. They take on Western. So, hey, we're off and rolling in college football, fellas.
I forgot that was a Friday night game.
I love that matchup. They did that. I felt like mid 2015 era. They did that same sort of matchup Friday night, home and home, Michigan State, Western. I hope
awesome.
that's a game every single year. I love seeing those two programs battle it out.
Just down the road from each other. Well, let's get into a little Lion football and maybe some Hard Knocks conversation. I definitely, again, want to thank our friends at Skymint Cannabis. Don't forget, go to the Corona store to give them the code 3.20, 20% off Skymint products. If you're around the state listening, you can go to any of their locations, many, many locations, including Ann Arbor, Detroit, Flint, Lansing, Saginaw. Skymint. Great spot to go for your needs, that's for sure.
And I can't say that enough, man. Use the freaking code.
Yes, absolutely. All right, fellas. Detroit Lions. Exhibition game, number 3, very lackluster. Watch the whole thing. The whole question mark was the backup quarterbacks. I don't know if I've got some legitimacy now, Jared. I mean, you've heard me talk about the Lions backup quarterback situation forever, and everybody's on the bandwagon. I mean, they're awful. You got to have somebody at least that can hold down the fort for a while.
I wish that just for Hard Knocks purposes, I do wish we had like one of these guys who are on the chopping block. For what I understand, it's like they're both going to make the team. So this whole drama that Hard Knocks is trying to create with the David Blau fumbling the snap really does not matter whatsoever.
He's the better of the two.
A bummer. But what I would do is I'd just cut one, and then man, if Goff, God forbid, really does get hurt, let's just go sign somebody. We're really like knocking on doors, hoping to pray to God nobody scoops up Tim Boyle. He'll probably be right there waiting for you in a few weeks if we did have to do that. So no, I agree with you on the backup quarterbacks, man. But it's almost hilarious. Like, let's just keep on the roster, and at least if Goff goes down, it's just hilarious. It's comedy will ensue, because if Goff goes down, we're already screwed. So might as well laugh a few times while we're at it.
It's just funny how, I mean, we've said it a number of times on this podcast. They've just never really addressed backup quarterback, even when Stafford was there. I understand Stafford was like Iron Man, basically started every game he was there. But at some point, you do have to have a legitimate backup. I mean, think about even like the Eagles. I saw people throwing around, they have Gardner Minshew. I saw people throwing around maybe the Lions should try and trade and get him. It's just there's value in having a good backup, even if you know Jared Goff is your guy, even if you know Patrick Mahomes is your guy.
Right.
You got to have a solid backup. And the Lions, especially when you're the Lions in this rebuild with Dan Campbell, if Jared Goff goes down, this season is done. Mm-hmm. And I guess you're playing for Bryce Young. I guess you're playing for a draft pick, because David Blau, cool story with his wife as the Olympian and all that kind of stuff. He's not good. And Tim Boyle, I don't know how he even sniffs an NFL roster, because Jared, I think you have a better arm than him. And those are the two options the Lions have. So
what also cracks me about it is it's not like, at least like you remember like the Stafford era, we had like Sean Hill, who was competent, but was just like a veteran quarterback in the locker room. So he had a lot of time. Like a lot of teams, that's what they do. Like these guys who have been in the league for like 15 years, it feels like, as a backup, because hey, you're not really that good on the field. At least you can mentor Goff or be like something worth saying or have something worth saying in like that quarterback
Right.
room. What are we getting out of these two guys? They're young. They don't have any really potential. They're not good. They're not, I think they're both maybe younger than Goff. Like, let's just get somebody else in this damn building.
Yeah, well, I agree with that. And I don't think they need a backup quarterback, but I'm not sure I would give much of a draft choice away to get a backup either. I mean, I'd rather wait for the cuts to happen and then see what you can pick up that's any better, right? I mean, there's going to be some guys out there, and maybe I'm out of my mind staying on this Fitzmagic thing, but a guy like that is what they need.
Right.
We talked about it. A veteran that can come in, has proven they can play NFL football. These clowns can't play.
No,
just won't happen.
Yeah, I mean, give him a call, see if he wants to come carry a clipboard for a few weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just a shame because you can see that last preseason game against the Steelers. I don't know, a lot of starters didn't play. I don't know. I didn't really put much into them losing that game.
No,
but I think that I'm trying not to get too excited. I think there's a lot of potential on this team to be improved. I'm not saying make the playoffs, make a run to the Super Bowl necessarily, but be improved. So that's what's disappointing is with the whole Jared Goff thing and the backup quarterback. Because if he goes down, hopefully he doesn't. Hopefully he starts all 17 games. But if he does, then you're just lost and you're losing all momentum from this year. And, you're not building anything because there's potential on the defense. I'll be the first to admit it. Jeff Okudah is looking like he maybe has come back from that injury. He's looking like a legit number one corner. The offensive line, when they're all playing and healthy, you can see the potential there. Obviously, the receivers with St. Brown, and if Jamison Williams can come back, I mean, it's all there. It's all there for them to make an improvement.
Yeah, like I said, man, if Okudah can, I always forget he's even on the team, to be honest.
Right.
Like it's because I feel like we all kind of wrote him off. Like he's literally just a flat out bust, like not going to play. If he's just startable, if he's even your number two corner, just get him on the field. Like hopefully he just can contribute in some way. If he does, then that's a win from what we thought a year ago or even 2 years ago. Yeah. In terms of Hard Knocks, I have one complaint, and it's almost like kind of a funny one. So, everybody loves Malcolm Rodriguez. Everybody loves him. Does anybody know anything about this guy other than like the little soundbite about how he likes to hit and like a montage of him hitting? What do we know about this guy?
Pretty good dancer.
So I would hope that maybe we can get a feature on him next week. If that never comes, then I wonder what the hell they've been doing. I don't know why it's taken this long.
Right.
Yeah, because they've featured a bunch of other guys, even Pimpleton. They featured Pimpleton last week.
He's been cut.
So I'm surprised. Did he end up getting cut?
Yeah, he got cut today. Jared Davis got cut. Kennedy and Devin Funchess.
Yeah, I saw those guys. I didn't see
Kennedy.
Pimpleton.
You said Kennedy got cut?
Yeah.
What did I miss there on this guy? Just like a loaded wide receiver room. There's no room for him. He's been making plays.
Yeah, he hasn't been that impressive, I guess, on special teams, and that was going to be the only spot they could hold for him. So I mean, this is a deep receiver room, but I'll tell you what, I think he would have made the team if he had caught that one real tough pass in the end zone.
I thought about that. Right when he dropped that, I was like, oh, that might have been the one.
Yeah.
If he makes that catch, that might be the one. But Pimpleton had a bunch of drops in that last game.
Right at the goal line, touchdown.
Yeah. So some of those cuts, but Hard Knocks, I don't know. We didn't post a video from the last Hard Knocks. I don't know. I think episode 1 set the bar so high. They've slightly gone down. I don't know what it is. It's still really good. Obviously, I was still glued, locked in the whole time, but I'm kind of waiting for something. I'm like waiting for something like that first episode. That's just like, oh man, this is amazing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like what we're comparing. It's still just incredible TV for anybody who's a football fan, especially us Lions fans. We can't even complain. Yeah, I actually put episode 2 right up there with 1. And I just think they sort of blew their load on all the big time like storylines in the Lions. Hutchinson, the Blau with his wife, the Amon-Ra St. Brown, his family. So I think that they just kind of ran out of that stuff. And that's where we're finally seeing a little bit of a drop, is they just don't have those big time, really well made sort of like features in the heart of all these music videos and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, this week they may feature on some of the borderline players. Maybe they're going to get cut, that type of thing. It'll be interesting to watch. We're recording this on Monday night, so we'll check it out tomorrow night and as they head down the stretch. But I agree with what Matt said about the Lions in general. I think maybe it's drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit, but this should be an improved team. Are they going to win the Super Bowl? No, but can they be knocking on 500 and maybe even a little better with the right breaks? I think they can. So it should be a fun season. Again, does that, Jared, though, kind of put us in that limbo situation, where you're not going to get a decent draft choice, your 500 team? Would you rather see them tank, or would you rather see them make a step up for Coach Campbell?
I don't want to see him. We will not have to tank if Goff is good, and if Goff is bad, then we will naturally tank. And so I guess that kind of answers your question: is whatever happens, just take the bright side of it, I guess. But let's just root for the best that Goff is who this team seems to think he is.
You got it.
I mean, honestly, in the division, obviously the Packers are the class, but the Bears are not good at all, and the Vikings are kind of a question mark.
Yeah.
New head coach, Cousins. What is he? So honestly, the Lions, if they cannot lose the games that the Lions lose, like what Dan Campbell has talked about, like that one preseason game where they had it won, they fumble it away. If the Lions cannot have those kind of losses, they could definitely be in contention for the wild card. And, a lot has to go right. They have to stay healthy. Hopefully everyone on the offensive line stays healthy. Hopefully DeAndre Swift stays healthy. Guys like Hawkinson, hopefully he stays healthy. So a lot has to go right. Mm-hmm. And the big one, like what you said, Jared, Goff has to play well. Goff, has to be good. He has to be good.
Here's my barometer for in division. I think we should expect we'll probably go 0-2 versus Packers. Should try to probably split with the Vikings and then go 2-0 against the Bears. 3-3. Anything better than that is what a great season we had. Anything worse than that, it's wow, that's pretty depressing. So that's the way I look at it. 3-3. I just got to go even.
And protect your home turf down there at Ford Field too, man. You got to make that a tough place for opponents to play and come away with W's. No question about it. Well, we'll see what happens. College football again this weekend. Looking forward to that. The Lions will be the week after that. And 3 Point Podcast will be right here along for the ride. It's nice to be back in football season, isn't it, guys?
Oh, yeah. Magical.
I love it. Well, this has been the 3 Point Podcast presented by Memorial Healthcare, home of the popular walk-in sports injury clinic every Monday through October 17th at the new Now Community Wellness Center, and Skymint Cannabis, Michigan's leader in the industry with many convenient locations throughout Michigan. Don't forget to use that coupon code in Corona 3.20 for 20% off. Follow us at 3 Point Pod. Spread the word. Make sure you let all our great partners know you listen in and enjoy the program. They include AZEE Printing Solutions, Capital Sports Fieldhouse and Hit and Pitch Owosso, Pro Real Estate and Auction, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, Success Group Mortgage and Servicing, The Wash of Owosso, the ALS Association of Michigan, and Z92.5 The Castle. I want to send a special thanks to Sam Ali. He's from For the Win, Fox 66 and NBC 25, their sports director, and you can follow him at Sam Ali Sports. This episode of 3 Point Podcast was recorded at StreamYard.com. And don't forget our Z92.5 Game of the Week coming up this Thursday. Pretty good matchup, I think, for a couple of neighboring rivals. New Lothrop at Chesaning. Catch that game this Thursday evening at 7. So that'll about do it, fellas. Till next week. So long, everybody. Peace and love. Be kind, and thanks for listening, and go Blue.